Welcome to my YouTube channel. In this video, what we will try to understand is, we will try to see how RANKX function works under the hood. So what we will basically try to do is, we have a data model with just one table, which is orders that you can see here. So this is the data of the orders table, which has just 4 rows with 4 product IDs and then the corresponding quantity sold. What we will try to do here is, using RANKX function, we will try to assign a rank to each of these products based on the quantity that has been sold. So let's come to this report view. First I'll try to build a small table, and before that I will create a small measure. I say new measure. I simply say it as sales sum of quantity sold. Okay, now I'll drag a small table and then I will add product ID and then the sales. I will choose this one not to summarize, and I will increase the size of this font maybe to 20. Okay, so for now what I will try to do is, I will suppress the totals row because I do not want this one for this example. Okay, so now here we can see the sales for each of these product ID. So as we have seen, sales is just a sum of quantities sold, so it's straightforward. So here we can see the sales made by each of this product. Now let's dive into this example of creating a new measure called RANKX, which will help us to give the rank for each of these product IDs that we have here. So let me first try to create the formula and then I will explain you how it is working. So I come here and say new measure. So here what I will try to do is, I'll try to create my measure. For example, I say RANKX and then RANKX all product ID so this is my measure, and then I will add this one into my table, and here we can see the rank. So let me just sort this. So here we can see the rank for each of these product. As we can see, the product ID 1, which has the highest sales, has got a rank of 1, and similarly for product ID 2, which has a sales value of 400, has got a value of 3. Now let's try to understand how the formula is actually working. So what we will try to understand here is, we will see how the RANKX function executes to get these ranks for each of these products. So as I mentioned, in the first step, what it basically does is, in the first step, RANKX does an iteration over the table which is passed as first argument. Here the first argument is all product ID, because we want to perform the iteration over all the items in product ID column. During the iteration, it evaluates the second argument, which is sales measure. During iteration, we generally have a row context. Okay, but because sales is a measure, as we know, we have created sales as a measure using sum of quantity sold, and we are referencing that measure within RANKX. So because sales is a measure, it carries an implicit calculate function. This will convert the row context into filter context. Basically it does context transition. So while executing sales measure for any particular product ID, the data model gets filtered only for that specific product ID because of filter context. If we take an example of ID 2, so the data model gets filtered only for ID 2, so the measure sales would only return the sales for ID 2, which is 400. It continues this way of execution for all products, and then it prepares a lookup table which contains only the values, followed by sorting them, which is descending by default. So after the first step, the output of the lookup table will contain just values sorted on a descending order. For example, if I just put a small table here, maybe, and then I drag just to show you how this will look after the first step. Okay, so if I sort it in descending order, so this is how my lookup table would look like after the first step. Then in the second step, it evaluates the second argument which is passed to the function which is sales measure in the original filter context, which is coming from the visual. So for ID2, the filter context is product ID2, the result would be 400. So if I minimize this, so in the second step, it evaluates the second argument which is sales in the current filter context. So the filter context, for example, in case of this cell is ID2. So when you have a filter context, the data model gets filtered only for this particular ID, and when you execute the sales measure, which is the second argument in the RANKX function, so it returns only the sales which are related only to ID2. So the output will be 400. So in the final step, it looks for the position of the value generated in the second step in the lookup table that is generated in the first step. This position gives us the rank for that specific product ID. So if you take the example of ID2, the value of 400, if you look at it in the lookup table, it is in the third position, which means that product ID2 gets a rank of 3. So this is how the RANKX function works under the hood. So just to summarize all these steps, what it first does is it first generates a lookup table which looks in this format, and then in the second step it evaluates the second measure in the original filter context, and then in the final step it looks for that value which is generated in the second step in this lookup table to get the position, and that position is basically the rank for that specific product ID. I hope this is clear to you all. In the next video, what we will try to understand is we will try to introduce duplicates into our data, and then we will see how the RANKX function executes. See you soon. Thank you so much for watching the video.